In this video, we explore the history of inbreeding among royal siblings. Think Cersei and Jaime Lannister's relationship was shocking? Real history has even more dramatic examples of royal incest and inbreeding. Incest, which involves sexual relationships or marriages between relatives, has been viewed very differently throughout history. Sometimes it was considered completely normal, while other times it was seen as highly taboo. One major reason for prohibiting incest is the genetic problems it can cause in offspring. Most people inherit 23 pairs of chromosomes, one from each parent. These chromosomes contain genes that determine everything from our eye color to our height and intelligence. When a child inherits a defective gene from one parent and a normal gene from the other, they are less likely to develop genetic disorders. However, when parents are closely related, they are more likely to both carry the same defective genes. This increases the likelihood that their children will inherit two defective genes, leading to genetic disorders. For example, children of first cousins have double the risk of infant death and physical or intellectual disabilities compared to children of unrelated parents. The closer the relationship between the parents and the more generations of inbreeding, the higher the risk of serious health problems. Throughout most of history, people didn't understand the genetic reasons behind these issues, but they observed the negative health effects of inbreeding. Many countries and cultures have enacted laws to ban incestuous marriages. Despite this, royals have often engaged in inbreeding to consolidate power within their families. The pursuit of keeping royal bloodlines pure has, ironically, caused significant harm. Here are some of the most shocking examples of incestuous relationships and tragically inbred individuals in royal history. In ancient Egypt, it was customary for the eldest son and daughter of the pharaoh to marry each other and become co-rulers, as women were believed to carry the family bloodline. King Tutankhamun, born in 1342 BC, was the product of generations of sibling marriages, with his parents being brother and sister. He ascended to the throne at the age of 10, but was plagued by numerous health issues due to inbreeding. Tutankhamun had a clubbed foot, scoliosis, and necrosis, death of bone tissue, which caused him significant pain and necessitated the use of a cane. Additionally, he had a cleft palate, oversized incisors, and a pronounced overbite, all traits common in his family. He married his half-sister Ankhesenamun, who gave birth to two stillborn daughters. Their mummies were found in Tutankhamun's tomb. Tutankhamun ruled for only 9 years, dying at 19 from malaria, which was worsened by his genetic health problems. Over 1,000 years later, the Egyptians continued the practice of sibling marriage. Queen Cleopatra VII, the famous ruler of Egypt, was also a product of a sibling union. When Cleopatra inherited the throne at 18, Egyptian law required her to marry and share power with a male relative. She married her 12-year-old brother Ptolemy and used his youth to maintain control. However, when Ptolemy was 15, he garnered enough support to challenge Cleopatra, sparking a civil war between the sibling spouses. Cleopatra then seduced Julius Caesar, gaining his support to overthrow her brother. Ptolemy drowned in the Nile after losing a battle. Restored to power, Cleopatra married another younger brother, 11-year-old Ptolemy XIV. Her 4 children were fathered by her Roman lovers, Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, making it unlikely that she had an intimacy relationship with her brothers. Ancient Rome. Despite incest being taboo and outlawed in Rome, Emperor Caligula is rumored to have had intimacy relationship with his favorite sister, Julia Drusilla. He wanted to marry her, emulating the Egyptian practice. When Drusilla died of illness at 21, Caligula grieved deeply, refusing to let anyone take her body away. He acted like a grieving widower and ordered the Senate to declare her a goddess. Caligula then turned his attention to his other two sisters, Livilla and Agrippina the younger. However, he discovered they were also involved with Drusilla's widower, Marcus Lepidus, complicating the imperial family's already scandalous dynamics. The jealous emperor ordered Marcus's execution and exiled his sisters. After Caligula's assassination, his uncle Claudius became emperor. Claudius discovered his wife Valerie's affair and their plot to overthrow him, resulting in their execution. Claudius then changed the law to permit incest, allowing him to marry his niece Agrippina. He named her son Nero as his heir. Nero later married Claudius's daughter and his own cousin Octavia, creating another incestuous union. Agrippina later poisoned Claudius to pave the way for her son Nero's ascension, although Nero's reign was far from Rome's finest. Japan. Emperor Bidatsu ruled Japan from 572 to 585. When his first empress passed away, he elevated his half-sister Nukatabe to empress. Together, they had 7 children. Following Bidatsu's death and a series of power struggles, Nukatabe became Empress Suiko in her own right, reigning over Japan for 36 years. The Mayan Empire, Shield Jaguar II, a renowned ruler of the Mayan Empire from 681 to 742, married his aunt Lady Oxoc, a prominent and influential queen, despite not bearing any children. She is depicted in a ritualistic act, summoning a vision of a serpent god to prepare her husband for war by threading a thorned rope through her tongue. The Inca Empire. The Inca revered the royal family's bloodline as sacred, tracing their lineage back to the sun god Inti. In order to maintain their blood's purity, it was common for royal siblings to marry, akin to ancient Egyptian practices. Emperor Tupac Inca, who ascended the throne in 1471, had numerous wives and over 90 children, perpetuating the tradition of royal incest to preserve their divine heritage. He left the throne to his son Huayna Capac, who he had fathered with his sister. However, this decision greatly angered his senior wife, who had expected her own son to be named heir. In retaliation, she poisoned and killed Tupac. Emperor Atahualpa Inca also engaged in an incestuous marriage with his sister Coya Asarpe. He and his brother were locked in a civil war for the throne when the Spaniard Francisco Pizarro arrived. Atahualpa, in an attempt to appease Pizarro, offered his sister Inez as a wife to the conquistador. Inez bore a daughter by Pizarro. However, despite this gesture, the Spanish captured Atahualpa and used his incestuous marriage as justification for his execution, effectively bringing an end to the Inca Empire. Hawaii. In ancient Hawaii, marriages within the royal family were seen as vital for preserving pure bloodlines. King Kamehameha III, who ruled from 1825 to 1854, had harbored romantic feelings for his sister Nahai'ina since childhood and desired to marry her. Despite objections from Christian missionaries, Hawaiian tradition prevailed and the siblings were wed. However, Nahai'ina faced backlash from the church and Hawaiian people, ultimately living in isolation while pregnant with her brother's child. Tragically, the baby died shortly after birth, and Nahai'ina herself passed away 3 months later at the young age of 20, shunned and grieving. Rama V, King of Siam from 1868 to 1910, received education from the renowned British teacher Anna Leon Owens, who became famous through the musical The King and I. He is lauded for preventing British colonization and modernizing his nation, which later became Thailand, shortly after his death. Following tradition, Rama V maintained a harem consisting of 153 wives, concubines, and consorts, many of whom were cousins and sisters. Aware of British sensibilities, he publicly presented only one wife, concealing his polygamous and incestuous practices. Rama V fathered a total of 77 children, with his 69th child, Prince Mahidol, being born to his half-sister, Princess Sivan. Prince Mahidol faced physical ailments throughout his life, yet possessed a keen intellect. After attending Harvard Medical School, he returned to Thailand to revolutionize medicine and public health. Unfortunately, his health deteriorated due to inbreeding, and he succumbed to kidney failure at the age of 37. In the royal families of Europe, while sibling marriages were frowned upon, unions between cousins were remarkably common. Houses such as Habsburg, Hohenzollern, Savoy, Hanover, and Bourbon frequently intermarried. The Church had regulations regarding degrees of consanguinity, determining how closely related individuals could marry, yet papal dispensations were often granted. The health of offspring was often disregarded in favor of solidifying treaties and securing advantageous political alliances. Royal parents were fixated on ensuring their children married into the highest-ranking titles available, often overlooking the suitability of the individuals involved. Furthermore, the pool of eligible royal candidates for marriage was limited. One poignant example is Joanna of Castile, the result of a marriage between second cousins, Ferdinand II of Aragon and Isabella I of Castile. Despite inheriting the thrones of both kingdoms and uniting much of Spain, Joanna suffered a mental breakdown, earning her the epithet Joanna the Mad. She married Philip I, son of the Holy Roman Emperor, who hailed from the highly inbred house of Habsburg. Joanna harbored deep affection for her husband despite his habitual infidelity, which exacerbated her fragile mental state. When she discovered her husband with a lover, she reacted violently. Philip's sudden death at 28 left Joanna grief-stricken, refusing to part with his body and sleeping beside it each night. Their 6 children went on to marry into various royal families, carrying their mother's unfortunate genetic legacy with them. The Habsburgs, one of Europe's most influential royal families, held the throne of the Holy Roman Empire from 1438 to 1740. They ruled over kingdoms such as Bohemia, Hungary, Croatia, Portugal, Spain, and controlled principalities in the Netherlands and Italy. However, they gained notoriety for their extensive inbreeding practices. A physical trait known as mandibular prognathism, characterized by protrusion of the lower jaw resulting in misaligned teeth, became famously associated with the Habsburgs, earning the moniker Habsburg jaw. Charles V, Holy Roman Emperor and one of the children of Joanna the Mad, was notable for his pronounced Habsburg jaw, a physical trait common among his lineage. Additionally, he suffered from epilepsy. His son, King Philip II of Spain, married 4 times, all to relatives. His first wife, Maria Manuela of Portugal, shared all 4 grandparents with him, including Joanna and Philip I of Castile. Tragically, Maria passed away at the young age of 17 after giving birth to their son Carlos. Carlos faced multiple health issues and exhibited signs of mental instability and violence, leading his father to confine him. Carlos died in captivity at the tender age of 23. Philip II's second wife was his cousin, Queen Mary I of England, who died after just 3 years of marriage. His third wife, Elizabeth of Valois, was a third cousin. They were married for 9 years and had 2 daughters before Elizabeth passed away during childbirth. Philip's fourth and final wife was his niece, Anna of Austria. They had 5 children, though only one survived childhood. King Charles II of Spain is perhaps the most tragic example of inbreeding among the Habsburgs. His parents, Philip IV of Spain and Mariana of Austria, were uncle and niece. resulting in profound genetic overlap. All four of Charles's grandparents were descendants of Joanna the Mad. Charles's physical and mental health was severely impacted by inbreeding. He didn't learn to talk until the age of 4 or walk until 8. His Habsburg jaw was so severe that he struggled to chew food or speak properly, often drooling excessively. He faced multiple physical, intellectual, and emotional challenges and was impotent, unable to father children. Despite his numerous health issues, Charles baffled many by living until the age of 38, earning him the nickname Charles the Hexhead. The description of King Charles II's autopsy paints a harrowing picture of his deteriorated physical state, with the doctor noting that his body lacked even a single drop of blood. His organs were in advanced stages of decay, with his heart reduced to the size of a peppercorn, his lungs corroded, and his intestines gangrenous. The severity of his physical ailments, including having only one testicle and a head filled with fluid, led one author to remark that Charles died of poison long before he was born. It's said that from the day of his birth, the specter of his death loomed over him. As the last male descendant of the Spanish Habsburgs, his passing ignited the War of Spanish Succession, marking the end of an era for his family. Charles's sister, Margaret Theresa, fared somewhat better in terms of health, described as bright and lively. However, her life was marked by unfortunate circumstances, particularly in marriage. To strengthen the bond between the Spanish and Austrian branches of the Habsburg family, she wed her uncle and cousin Leopold I at the young age of 15. Despite their close relation, Leopold insisted on being addressed as uncle. Margaret Theresa suffered multiple miscarriages, and only one of her 4 children survived infancy. Blaming the deaths of her children on Jewish people, she pleaded with her husband to expel them from Vienna, leading to the destruction of the Vienna synagogue and its replacement with a church. Margaret Theresa tragically passed away while pregnant with her 5th child at just 21 years old. Marie Antoinette, Queen Consort of France and a member of the Habsburg family, was noted to have a mild case of Habsburg jaw, which caused her lower lip to protrude slightly, giving her a perpetually pouting expression. Meanwhile, George III of the United Kingdom, a member of the House of Hanover, suffered from debilitating madness for many years, during which his son, the Prince Regent, assumed governance. His condition has been attributed to the genetic disorder porphyria, adding another layer of complexity to the intricate tapestry of royal health and history. Recent doubt has been cast on the attribution of George III's madness solely to porphyria, highlighting the detrimental effects of his shallow gene pool. His granddaughter, Queen Victoria, married her first cousin, Prince Albert of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, in a union that exemplified the consequences of royal intermarriage. Victoria and Albert meticulously arranged marriages for their 9 children, treating the process as if selecting breeding stock. However, their focus on superficial traits like height and hair color overshadowed the serious genetic issues prevalent in their own and other royal families. Their youngest son, Leopold, suffered from hemophilia, a condition impairing blood clotting, leading to his premature death at 30. At the time, the genetic basis of hemophilia was not understood, and doctors erroneously attributed Leopold's illness to his mother's use of chloroform during childbirth. The ramifications of Victoria and Albert's inbreeding became apparent as hemophilia, dubbed the royal disease, afflicted subsequent generations. 2 of their daughters, Alice and Beatrice, were carriers of the gene. Alice's son succumbed to hemophilia at the age of 2, while her daughter Alexandra married Tsar Nicholas II of Russia. Their son, who also had hemophilia, became a focal point of the mystical healer Rasputin's influence, weakening the Romanov dynasty and contributing to its downfall during the Russian Revolution. Beatrice's daughter, Victoria Eugenie, faced similar tragedy when her son with King Alfonso of Spain exhibited signs of hemophilia. This revelation strained their marriage irreparably. Thus, the tragic consequences of royal inbreeding reverberated across Europe, affecting not only individual families, but also the stability of entire dynasties. The tragic consequences of hemophilia continued to haunt royal families, with King Alfonso and his wife Victoria Eugenie facing the loss of 2 of their 7 children to the blood disorder.